I am Dr. Mark Lee, welcome to our channel, and today we are exposing a claim that sounds unbelievable, feels hopeful, and can be dangerous if you misunderstand it. You will learn which cheap seed people keep comparing to metformin, what the research actually shows, why prediabetes after 50 is never something to brush off, and the 3 mistakes that make blood sugar quietly worse even in people who think they are eating carefully every single day without realizing why. This cheap seed is more powerful than metformin. You have seen headlines like that. Maybe you have clicked on them late at night after looking at your lab work, wondering why your A1C is creeping up even though you are not eating dessert every day. Maybe part of you wants it to be true. A simple answer. A cheap answer. A kitchen answer. But here's the shocking part. The truth is, that headline is too simple to trust and too powerful to ignore. Because while no serious evidence proves that a cheap seed beats metformin across the board, there is one seed that has earned real scientific curiosity. And if you are dealing with prediabetes, that distinction could save you from one of the biggest mistakes people make. Let me tell you about a woman I will call Sandra. 68, retired teacher. Careful with money, careful with food, careful with life. She came in frustrated, not because she had diabetes, but because everyone kept telling her she was almost fine. Borderline sugar, borderline A1C, borderline concern. And yet every afternoon she crashed so hard she needed to lie down. Sound familiar? Brain fog after lunch, a little shakiness before dinner. Strong cravings at night even when you swear you had enough to eat. Pants fitting tighter around the middle even though your weight has barely changed. If that sounds like you, stay with me, because what looks borderline on paper can feel anything but borderline in real life. Prediabetes is not a dramatic movie scene. It is a slow leak. It is your metabolism getting less flexible, less forgiving, less able to handle the same breakfast, the same stress, the same poor sleep, the same inactivity you used to survive without a problem. And the dangerous part is that it whispers before it shouts. That is why people miss it. Doctors define prediabetes with numbers, and the numbers matter. An A1C between 5.7 and 6.4. A fasting glucose between 100 and 125. A post-meal response that is clearly not normal, even if it has not crossed the line into diabetes yet. But here is what those numbers do not capture. The cravings, the dips, the irritability, the energy crashes, the silent pressure building under the surface. Now remember when I mentioned Sandra? Her first instinct was exactly what many people do. She went online and started searching for natural blood sugar fixes. Cinnamon, vinegar, bitter melon, chromium, berberine, seed cycling, strange powders with glowing reviews. She almost bought 3 supplements in one night. Then one phrase stopped her cold, more powerful than metformin. That phrase is bait. Powerful bait. Because metformin is not some random pill nobody understands. It is one of the most studied medications in blood sugar control. It has been used for years, it is inexpensive, and in the right person, it can absolutely help. But here's the twist most people miss. In the biggest diabetes prevention research, consistent lifestyle change outperformed metformin, especially in older adults. That means, before we even talk about any seed, we need to say something that people rarely hear on social media. The strongest thing you can do for prediabetes is usually not hidden in a capsule. It is not exotic. It is not sexy. It is not trendy. It is structured eating, more movement, better sleep, preserving muscle, and losing even a modest amount of excess weight if that applies to you. But wait for it, because the story does get more interesting. There really is a cheap seed that keeps showing up in discussions about blood sugar, and that seed is Fenugreek, also called methi. Not glamorous, not rare, not sold as some luxury superfood. Just a bitter, humble seed that has been used in food traditions for generations and has enough biological plausibility to deserve a serious look. Why does Fenugreek get attention? 2 big reasons. First, it contains soluble fiber, and soluble fiber can slow how fast carbohydrates are absorbed. Second, it contains compounds researchers have studied for possible effects on insulin response. That does not make Fenugreek magical, but it does mean we are not talking about pure fantasy. We are talking about a real food with real mechanisms that may matter. Think of your blood sugar like traffic after a stadium event. A huge carb-heavy meal can send everything rushing into the bloodstream all at once. Then insulin has to scramble, your body overreacts, and later you feel that crash. Hungry again. Tired again, craving something sweet again. A tool that slows the rush can change how the whole day feels, even before it changes a lab number. That is why some people describe the benefit in plain human terms, not scientific language. Fewer roller coaster mornings. Less urgent snacking in the afternoon. Fewer, I need something sweet right now moments at night. More stable energy after meals. And when people feel that difference, they naturally start asking the bigger question, is this seed actually stronger than metformin? But here's the shocking part. Feeling better is not the same thing as proving superiority. The honest evidence on Fenugreek is promising, but not final. Some studies and meta-analyses suggest it may help lower fasting blood sugar, post-meal glucose, and sometimes even A1C. There was even a study in people with prediabetes using Fenugreek powder before meals that showed less progression toward diabetes over time. That is exactly the kind of result that creates viral headlines. You won't believe how fast those headlines spread. The truth is, promising does not mean settled. Many of the studies are small. Some have quality issues. Some use different forms and doses, which makes comparison messy. And none of that gives anyone the right to say, with a straight face, that Fenugreek is simply more powerful than Metformin for everyone with prediabetes. That is storytelling running ahead of science. And this matters even more after 50, and especially after 60. Because after 60, you are not just dealing with blood sugar. You may be dealing with blood pressure medication, statins, reflux pills, sleep issues, joint pain, lower muscle mass, slower recovery, less margin for dehydration, and sometimes a stomach that does not tolerate surprises. Add one more thing that can affect glucose, digestion, or appetite, and suddenly a natural experiment becomes a very real physiologic event. Fenugreek is not harmless just because it comes from a plant. It can cause digestive upset. It can interact with medications. In large amounts, it may push blood sugar lower than expected, especially in someone already using diabetes treatment. And for older adults, even one episode of dizziness or weakness can lead to a fall, a hospital visit, or a chain of problems that started with something that sounded innocent. Now let's be fair, because metformin is not perfect either. Some people start it and feel like their stomach has declared a full rebellion. Bloating, loose stools, nausea, urgency. Others do better on lower doses or extended release versions. Long-term use can also be associated with low vitamin B12, which matters because B12 supports nerves, energy, and healthy blood cells. So this is not a story of good versus evil. It is a story of trade-offs, and if you miss that, you miss the whole lesson. The question is not, which side are you on, Fenugreek or metformin? The real question is, what is actually driving my rising blood sugar? And what combination of actions gives me the best shot at reversing momentum before it hardens into disease? That is a very different conversation. A smarter one, a safer one. So let's make this practical. I want to give you the 5 mistakes that quietly make prediabetes worse, even in people who think they are being careful. And number 4 is the one almost nobody sees coming. Mistake number 1 is eating a breakfast that looks light but acts like a sugar bomb. Toast, yam, juice, sweetened yogurt, cereal, crackers, a banana in coffee. It feels harmless because it is not a donut. But if there is not enough protein, fiber, and substance there, that meal can send you soaring and crashing before noon. Then you blame your willpower when it was really the meal structure. Mistake number 2 is sitting down right after you eat. This one is brutally common. Breakfast, chair. Lunch, chair. Dinner, couch. But muscles are one of the best sinks for glucose in the human body. When you use them, blood sugar handling changes. That is why a simple 10 to 15-minute walk after a meal can do more than people expect. Not flashy, very powerful. Mistake number 3 is under-eating protein for years while getting older and less metabolically resilient. After 50 and 60, muscle loss becomes easier. And when muscle shrinks, one of your biggest allies in blood sugar control shrinks with it. People think they need to eat less, but often the bigger issue is that they are eating less of what stabilizes them and more of what spikes them. Pattern interrupt? If you're listening right now and thinking, I barely eat anything, ask yourself this. Are you under-eating food that nourishes you, then overeating food that rescues you? Because those are not the same thing. Many people are not overeating all day. They are underfueling early, crashing later, and calling the crash a craving problem. The truth is, it is often a structure problem first. Mistake number 4 is the nighttime trap. You have been good all day, maybe even too good. Then 8:30 hits, and suddenly the pantry feels magnetic. Something crunchy, something sweet, something fast. And here's the shocking part. That pattern can be less about discipline and more about blood sugar instability, poor sleep, stress hormones, and an early meal pattern that set you up to fail. Mistake number 5 is chasing blood sugar helpers while refusing to fix blood sugar habits. This is where the cheap seed conversation can become dangerous. A person adds fenugreek, cinnamon, magnesium, vinegar, and some online glucose blend with a shiny label. But they still sleep 5 hours, skip walking, eat low-protein breakfasts, stay sedentary, and snack late. Then they say supplements do not work. No, the system never had a chance. Now I promised you 3 secrets, and here they are. Secret number 1 is not just what you eat, but the order and structure of the meal. Start with protein and fiber when you can. Build the plate so you actually stay full. That means eggs with vegetables instead of toast alone. Greek yogurt with nuts instead of sweet cereal. Fish, beans, lentils, chicken, tofu, or cottage cheese paired with fiber-rich foods instead of naked starch. The goal is not punishment. The goal is steadiness. Secret number 2 is movement right after meals, especially dinner. You do not need an hour. You do not need a gym membership. You do not need to become the kind of person who posts workout selfies. You need to move your body enough to tell your muscles, take some of this glucose. A short walk, a few stairs, light housework, even marching in place can help more than people realize. Secret number 3 is protect your muscle like it is expensive, because metabolically, it is. 2 or 3 sessions a week of resistance work, even basic body weight or light dumbbells, can change the whole direction of aging. More muscle usually means better glucose disposal, better function, better balance, and better independence. Remember when I mentioned Sandra? This was the turning point for her, not the seed. Yes, she tried fenugreek later with her doctor's awareness. But that was not what changed her life first. What changed her first was replacing her toast and fruit breakfast with protein and fiber, taking a 15-minute walk after dinner, and adding simple strength work twice a week using a chair and light weights at home. Within weeks, her afternoon crashes eased. Her nighttime cravings softened. Her fasting numbers started looking less chaotic. Then, and only then, did a cautious food-based add-on even make sense. That is the order people get wrong. They want the bonus before they build the base. So where does Fenugreek fit in a smart plan? As a possible adjunct. Not a replacement for proven care. Not a magic bullet. Not an excuse to ignore what your labs, symptoms, and lifestyle are telling you. If your doctor knows your medication list and thinks it is reasonable, Fenugreek may be a low-cost tool worth discussing, particularly if post-meal spikes and cravings are part of your picture. But here's the shocking part. The right person can use the wrong thing at the wrong time and still get hurt. If you are already on metformin, insulin, a sulfonylurea, or multiple medications, you do not get to treat your body like a hobby project. If you are frail, dizzy, underweight, dehydrated easily, or have a sensitive digestive system, you need even more caution. And if you are the kind of person who changes 6 things in 1 week, you will never know what helped, what hurt, or what simply confused the picture. So here's the exact conversation I want you to have at your next appointment. Not, I saw a video that said Fenugreek is better than metformin. That shuts people down. Say this instead, I have prediabetes. I know lifestyle matters most. I have heard Fenugreek may help some people with glucose control. Is it safe for me, given my history and medications, and is there any reason not to use it carefully? That question opens doors. And if the answer is no, do not take it personally. That does not mean the idea was foolish. It may mean your doctor sees risks you do not. It may mean your pattern would respond better to metformin, better sleep, structured nutrition, weight loss, more walking, or strength training. Personalized care is not less exciting than internet certainty. It is more valuable. Let me give you one more mini climax, because this is where everything comes together. Most people with prediabetes are not one perfect supplement away from safety. They are 2 or 3 consistent habits away from changing the trajectory. Lose even 5 to 7% of body weight if excess weight is part of the problem. Aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate activity a week. Preserve muscle. Improve sleep. Recheck your labs. Those moves may sound ordinary, but they are more powerful than most hacks. The truth is, prediabetes is not just about avoiding diabetes. It is about protecting energy, protecting your brain, protecting your nerves, protecting your heart, protecting your independence. It is about making sure that 10 years from now, you are not saying, I wish I had taken that warning more seriously when it was still reversible. That is the real emotional weight of this conversation. So, is this cheap seed more powerful than metformin for prediabetes? No. Not if you care about evidence. Not if you care about nuance. Not if you care about older adults who live in real bodies with real medications, real limitations, and real risks. But is Fenugreek one of the more interesting and affordable food-based tools worth discussing as part of a broader plan? Yes. Absolutely yes. That is the mature answer, even if it is less flashy. And sometimes the mature answer is the one that changes lives. Remember when I mentioned Sandra at the beginning? A few months after she stopped chasing miracle claims and started building a layered strategy, her confidence changed before her lab work did. She was less afraid of food, less trapped by cravings, less exhausted in the afternoon. Then her numbers improved too. Not because one seed rescued her, but because she finally stopped asking, what is the one magic fix? And started asking, what are the right next steps for me? That question is gold. If this spoke to you, put the word borderline in the comments, because too many people hear that word and think it means harmless. It does not. It means this is the window where action works best. Share this with someone whose A1C is drifting up, someone who says they are almost diabetic, or someone who keeps being told to just watch it. Sometimes watching it is exactly how it gets worse. Subscribe if you want more videos that separate hype from truth, because blood sugar advice online is full of bold promises and weak explanations. And the next video is one you do not want to miss, because now that you understand where Fenugreek fits, the next question is even bigger. Which so-called healthy breakfast foods spike blood sugar the fastest after 60 and leave you hungry again before noon? That is where a lot of this story really begins.